What is going on, y'all? Welcome to Joel Friday TV. I'm Joel Friday. Welcome to the show. A few announcements before we get started. Hit that like button, smack it. Lay the smack down, like, subscribe, and share button. Tell your peoples about the show so we get the subscribers up. And the message out. Do it now. Help a brother out. As you guys know, we are live Monday through Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Punchy.tv. And at any point during the show, if you want to call in, if you need to call in, if you gotta call in, you can call 888-775-3773, 888-775-3773, and we can get into whatever you want to get into, we can get into it. If for whatever reason you can't call, but you still have a question or comment, or you just want to support the show, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Joel Friday TV, send your question or comments there, or go directly to the YouTube live chat, hit the super chat button, also send your question or comments there, or, and I'll read them live on air. Aight. What's today? Today is Thursday. What does that mean? Character Breakdown Thursday, baby. We getting into it. We got some stuff to break down. Okay? And it's a must, and it's happening. All right? Also, I want you guys to let me know. Let me know what your guys' favorite theme of the week. Is it faith and spirituality on Monday? Grace and mercy Monday? Is it true crime story time on Tuesdays? Is it relationship Wednesdays or character breakdown Thursdays? Which one do you guys like the most? All right? You guys tell me. What's your favorite day of the week? Amazing stuff. All right, before we get started, I have a little clip I want to start off with before we get into that stuff. I got a little clip I want to start off with. I came across on X, okay? And there was a security guard. This is from Fight Flicks on X. Security guard claps back a young kid for being foolish. I want to see what you guys think about this. Is he justified in his actions? Did he go too hard? Or you tell me what's on your mind. Here we go. I'm going to do that one more time for you. Boom. Was he wrong? Was the security guard wrong? I don't think he was wrong at all, right? And I think that we need him over there on the border. We need my man over there at the border. As soon as they trying to play at the border, he right there ready to sock him up. That's how I bet you he won't do that again. I bet you that little boy won't do it again. Laying down the law. That's what I feel like is necessary. What do you guys think? You guys think that he was wrong? It wasn't right or wrong. What do you guys think? And I'm gonna change the words. When I say right and wrong, it's confusing what I really mean. Because I don't believe that we know right and wrong, right? You guys know that. I don't believe that. But my language is so deeply ingrained on communicating in that way. But I got to find a different way to communicate. So I'm not confusing in my beliefs here. All right? Oh, okay. So some people are saying that security guard was wrong. He shouldn't have did that. I think that was the proper thing to do in that moment. Boy, why are you sitting up here playing? I'm trying to run a club here. I'm trying to make sure everybody's safe. You come up here acting silly, back up. And what it does is it just brings order. He'll tell his friends, and his friends will tell his friends that, oh, we don't mess around at that club. They do not play. And don't you get tired of people playing too much? Like, it ain't a game. I don't care how old you are. Back up. You know what I'm saying? Lil C said he overreacted. Law. Wifey all sensitive. But listen, I think that was justified. But not all men of the law are justified in their actions. I say that to say, moving on, that bad cops do exist. Okay? Bad cops do exist. Okay? And when the blacks say that the white cops are picking on them, they're not wrong. There are cops who do pick on the black people. Okay? And we should be honest about that, right? Do the blacks overreact? Yes. But do some cops, and of course not all blacks overreact, right? But do some cops pick on the blacks? Yes. Yes. Why? Why is that the case? That's what we're getting in today. Why is that the case? Why are cops bad? What you mean? And we're going to get into that. We're going to get to the bottom of the issue with the cops and the issue with the blacks. We're going to get to that. But the question is why? Why do bad cops exist? Why do cops pick on the blacks? Well, for one, you got to remember, cops are people too. Cops are angry too, right? In their anger, in their arrogance, they do stupid stuff. Right? They're on an ego trip. They got a gun on their waist. They got the law on their side. So their ego goes out of control and they do stupid stuff. Right? So why shouldn't bad cops exist? Meaning, why don't they? All cops are not good. But the reason why I bring that up is because we got to bring a little context. There should be some context in there. Why are the cops behaving in this way? Why do cops pick on the blacks? What you got to also understand is that the behavior is uncontrollable in the black community, right? The way they overreact, the way they're triggered by anything you say, the way they commit crime, the way how dangerous they are. So you got to understand too, though the cop may be arrogant and angry and be on an ego trip, he's still not ignorant to the fact that he has to stay on his toes when it comes to dealing with a black person, right? And they're also fed up with having to constantly deal with bad behavior, right? Constantly have it to be called racist or constantly being attacked or constantly. So they're probably fed up, right? And they're trying to stand up, but just doing it in the improper way. So there's content. There's a reason why they do what they do, but it doesn't justify that they're bad cops, right? It doesn't justify your actions. You got to uphold the law, period. You can't be so sensitive and overreacting and be fed up that it allows you not to do your job properly. So there are angry cops. And I'm going to show you guys an example real quick here. I'm going to show you guys an example. And then we're going to move on. But this is from X. Cop pulls over black man unaware he was an on-duty FBI agent. Here we go.
What is this? Is this fake?
Federal agent.
This arrogant police officer didn't know that he had pulled over an FBI agent. The cop treated him disgustingly by harassing him, but when he realized what he had done, it was already over.
Favorite, open all the windows?
What?
Open all the windows? You want me to make your life difficult? Because I love making people's lives difficult.
Really?
There you go. I just did that. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. Okay.
Can you call your supervisor?
Are you deaf?
You call your supervisor?
Oh, there's no supervisor.
There's no supervisor.
No, there is no supervisor. Put your hands up there.
I got a gun on my side.
Okay. Where's the gun?
Please?
Where's the gun?
On my right hand. Okay. On my right hand.
For my safety and your safety, we're going to do this today, okay? Oh, you have a license to carry this?
We're in Florida, right?
But, do you have a...
I sure enough do.
It's called a concealed carry permit.
Listen, my license is around my neck.
Oh.
I carry it around my neck.
What is this? Is this fake? A lot of people like to act like they're cops.
Federal agent.
Oh, right. Where's the ID?
Federal agent.
Okay.
So now my badge don't even make a difference.
So you're a cop. So why wouldn't you tell me?
Yo,
You been drinking today?
Drinking, sir. We don't drink.
I smell alcohol emanating from the vehicle.
Actually, we're doing an investigation on... You didn't call your sergeant here, neither.
There's
so
no
the things that we supposed to do here, right?
Okay. You could have just identified yourself as...
When I showed you my badge and you grabbed my badge, you still didn't believe it was real.
Because people impersonate officers all the time.
I'll make sure when I see your charger, we'll make sure.
Well, we don't have to go that far, okay?
No, we won't. We'll go farther than that. We'll make sure we talk to them. We'll make sure we do a lot of things on this. I'm pretty sure you probably have other offenses against you. But you have a nice day. I continue to have a mind.
Listen.
I appreciate you, sir.
Listen.
Sir, I appreciate you.
Yeah, he felt stupid, didn't he? He felt dumb at the end. He's like, oh, man. Crap. He's like, I love giving people a hard time. I love ruining their day. Remember he was mocking the black guy in the whole beginning? Right? And the FBI agent, he was calm. He was like, oh, okay. Well, what's your sergeant's name? Okay, bet. He stayed calm. And that guy was badgering him and was being a jerk. Right? Regardless if you have in the back of your mind that you want to make bad behavior pay, right? The bad behavior from the black community or whatever you have in his mind. He can have anything in his mind, right? Whatever it is, it does not justify how you go about your job. And look, he got caught up. And that exists. And I wanted to point that out just because I want to also make the point that exists. That's out there. And, you know, I think the issue is that there's a lack of understanding. And I want to talk about the blacks really quick. I want to really, the main thing that I really want to do is I want to get to the heart of why the black community is the way that they are when it comes to cops. To part of the reason, right? Part of the picture of why the black community is the way they are. Erratic, defensive against the cops, resisting arrest, attitude. I want to give a little context in my belief of why they are that way. Okay? Is for one, you got to understand that obviously that we know it starts with the anger within, right? Angry, upbringing, lack of guidance. We know it started in the home. We know that, right? We also know that there has been, they grow up around a community or society that has these false rules that teach them silly things, right? Brainwashing, right? There's a brainwashing in the black community that everybody is against them, that, you know, that everybody hates them and that everybody's holding them down. There's a brainwashing. That's number two. But you guys also understand within the black community, they live by this street code. All right? They live by this street code. And what that is that it creates major trust issues within black people. And what that does is that constantly black people within the hood, within the society, I mean, their community is they're being tested by other black people, right? Gangs and whatever. They're constantly being tested, right? Tested to show their weakness, right? And once your weakness gets shown, you're owned, right? By whoever is pushing your buttons, right? So the black community is taught, right, to defend themselves. Because if you show weakness, you can get killed, you can die, you could lose your stuff. So you better defend yourself. You better demand your respect. And you better die trying. So you got to understand that's the mindset that they have. Mine is already messed up. So when they go into the world and they get pulled over by cops, already having this stupid narrative that white people and the world is against them, right? They already have that in their mind, right? It's beaten into them. They are now pulled over by cops. They have a fear, right? Because most people and most of the blacks, they have a lot, they're afraid. There's a lot of fear in there, right? Fear of their life, fear of losing their life, right? And then fear of the cops, right? Cops are out to kill them. You know, that's the narrative. So they get pulled over, they have this fear. But then now they also have this pressure, right? Pressure to defend themselves due to what they've been taught. So fear with pressure, bad combo. Bad combo. So now they have this fear when they get pulled over that they might die, and now they have this pressure to defend themselves or don't be disrespected, or they'll take advantage of your weakness and they won't, you know. So right off the bat, they're ready. And then here comes the cop, and he's on his ego trip, right? And he's ready to defend his he's ready to defend his honor against the bad behavior of the blacks. And he walks up and is already on the defensive, on the offensive. It's like, why, you know how it goes. So it's two egos right there, already going at it. Boom. Two egos already going at it. Bound for trouble to happen, bound for stuff to happen. And what's the problem? Both of them lack understanding. Both of them are on an ego trip. Both of them are angry. Both of them have the same exact spirit. It's evil. All in the name of victimhood. All in the name of right versus wrong. That's really what it is. Cop thought he was right, and he looked at the black man as wrong. Black man thought he was right. He looked at the cop as wrong. Both identified with right and wrong. Both caught up. No love. And we all do it. I do it. We all do it. But I say it to make the point to allow us to recognize that there's always a story that is not understood. And that we always got to keep in mind that though we see injustice, that we are not to judge injustice. Because there's always a completely clear perspective and story that we just don't understand. We just don't know. So I'm not saying don't be cautious about certain things. I'm not saying don't keep your distance around bad behavior or when something feels off. I'm not saying like, be smart, but I'm saying don't judge. We really got to overcome the judgment. Every feeling that we have, every feeling that little emotion stirs up, those little feelings, those emotions that stir up, all come from judgment. You're either judging something that's right, you're judging something that's wrong. You feel good or you feel bad. And it's the setup. But there's always a story that we don't know. So Black people have trust issues because they're taught to have trust issues. Right? And then they have fear. So you make them uncomfortable. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? You make them uncomfortable. They're going to defend themselves because they're taught to defend themselves. They have to defend themselves because the gang members and the rest of the people in the community are testing them at all times, trying to break them down. And that'll mess you up. That'll mess you up. So that's what that is. I had another thing I wanted to show you guys here. Another thing, because I was also thinking about two things. I didn't pull the clips for this. I didn't pull the information for this. But there's a lady right now that's in the news, because I didn't know necessarily I was going to get to this, but there's a lady that right now is in the news, right? And she had a sexual relationship with a young boy. She was a teacher, right? She had a sexual relationship with a young boy. And she got arrested. You guys heard the story. Christina, her name was Christina Othella. I believe it's Othella. Oh, shoot. Christina. And what happened was, as I'm getting her, Christina Othella. Oh, it's not. Christina Child. Christina Formella. Okay, I just want to make sure I get her name right. Christina Formella, right? She dating this kid, and she's a teacher and a soccer coach, right? And one of the boys were on her soccer team, right? And she was giving them private lessons. And they end up getting into a relationship. Mind you, she's married and all this stuff. And I understand because then they go into details and they discover what's really going on. And she has these text messages, right? According to these reports, she has these text messages that are saying like, "You cheated on me. I thought we were in love. I should have known not to fall for a 16-year-old. You said you loved me, and now by the way, she's 30, right, and married, and she's sending these text messages to this young boy. He's not a little boy, he's 16, and like really like acting as if they were really in a relationship, and my mind was blown. My first thought is like, this is so delusional. This is so insane. How does she even think that she is in a relationship with this little boy, for one? I keep saying little boy, but this teenage boy, and yet, and then talking like this, saying we're gonna break up, and I thought we loved each other, like crazy stuff. But then I started thinking like once the judgment passed, I started thinking like, man, when you're in that situation and your emotions take over and you're addicted to this thrill that is sneaking around, you have this fetish, or you have this like fantasy in your mind, and you're sneaking around to do it, and you actually do it, you then grow addicted to it, you grow attached to it, and now your mind is all messed up, right? And you start to really believe the lie is true. Honestly, you start to believe the lie is true. So on the outside looking in, it's like, what the heck is wrong with this crazy, insane lady? But on the inside, which I'm not justifying her actions at all, she's going to jail, and those are the consequences for doing that, right? But on the inside, when you're actually feeling that, when somebody is feeling an emotion and they're feeling this thing, it feels so real. It feels like it's right. You don't see how delusional your behavior is. You're just caught up into the fantasy, into the lie, and you get carried away, and everything seems real. It becomes a reality, and then you lose all sight of what is true, and the mind takes over. And I thought that was so interesting that my first thought was like, this so crazy bad. And not that it ain't true, but there's always more to it. There's always more to it. There's always a side to it, right? And it ain't to justify, but I had no right to judge. I had no right to judge her for that. And what's wrong with the husband? Why the husband not? And then when they got pulled over, husband in the passenger seat, and not like that's a big deal, but it kind of, he just sitting there confused and lost. How did he not see the signs? So there's just a whole thing that people don't know about, and they're quick to just, hate on this lady. And I understand that. Believe me, my first thought was judgment, but my second thought was like, hold up, what's going on here? But anyway, all life situations are just like that. Everything is that there's always a story. And maybe when we learn to understand the story, we can be a little bit more patient in our pursuit to judge somebody else. Let me go to some calls. And then blah, blah, blah. JC out of Little Rock, Arkansas. JC, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hello, Joel. How are you doing?
All is well, JC. How are you?
First of all, that 30-year-old woman, she deserves more than jail time for messing with a child. For messing, he might be 16, but that's still a child.
So you love to like make my point, about judgment, huh? I say judgment is evil. We shouldn't judge. We got to overcome judgment. And here you coming in. You coming in on judging.
Then here I come. Yeah, yeah, but I'm sorry, but Joel, am I wrong on this? Does she not deserve much more?
I don't know about much more, but I think that she's getting what is coming to her. She's getting what she deserves. She's going to jail. She broke the law. That's the law. She broke the law, and she's going to jail. And there's consequences too to messing with a minor's mind like that, right? So she's I'm not justifying it at all.
I think I think she deserves a lot more than just jail time. I think that's all I got to say on that.
Well, why though? Why you think so?
Because you're breaking the law. She's 30 years old. She's 14 years his senior. She knows the law and everything. That's horrible. She's a rapist. I'm not sure if I can say that, but she's a predator. She's a predator. She's a statutory rapist. So, yeah. She deserves a lot more than just jail time.
Fair enough. And you had another comment about the blacks.
Right. I was calling about why black people might be so angry, since you say we have fear and we have like this hood code and everything and stuff. I'm surprised you didn't mention the no snitching when you were talking about all of that.
Is that true?
About us being the reason that we're angry is because of that? No. The reason that we're probably angry is because of all of the 400 years of slavery and being born into oppression, being born with having to be behind, not having all of the generational wealth that other cultures, especially white people, have.
Okay,
that's
so
a
let me.
little reason.
Okay, so let me ask this: is that how come, if that's the case, all black people aren't bothered by that like you say they are? Why is it that there's some black people out there who aren't believing in the whole racism thing as a problem and all that stuff, doing just fine and aren't looking at themselves as victims and aren't pointing the finger? How come they're not affected by it?
Are you talking about people like you or Jesse Lee not believing in racism?
Right. Why? But why slave? You were never a slave, and you don't know anybody that was ever a slave. So how does that affect you, JC?
Because you know our ancestors were slaves.
But what does that have to
You
do
know
with
they-
you and me?
Because we were born into that. We were born. I can't specifically say how you were born, but I can specifically say how I was born, and most black people were born without the fullest of opportunities. Even though we're born in the land of the free, we are born having to catch up. We are born.
Okay, well,
with the
name me one opportunity that you have not gotten because you were black.
I just mentioned generational wealth.
Generational wealth. Well, how come Oprah got generational wealth? How come Tyler Perry got it? How come
They had to build that? But Tyler Perry used to be homeless in his car. He was homeless in the
right?
90s.
But he
And
was
now he's having to sell out and do things too because he's being a little suspect too. Watch Duplicity, and I want your opinion.
But don't you think that they didn't seem to let slavery and those things hold them back? Why does it have to hold you? Okay.
I'm not saying that it's holding us back, but you're giving reasons on why the blacks are angry and stuff, and saying that and putting that in your thumbnail when you are helping to be part of the problem.
No, I'm pointing out the problem, and I'm trying to bring the solution. The problem, for one, so you don't think? Let me ask though, you don't think the mothers in the home or the fathers, lack thereof, in the home in the black community aren't a part to play? They're not angry, they're not absent, and they're not guiding the family. Right, because
what do you mean lack thereof?
Because typically in the black community, there's a lot of fathers aren't in the household, and the mothers are angry. Right, they're upset, or they hold resentment to the. Okay, but that's what we often see. Don't we often see that the fathers aren't around?
No, my father is very much around, and my mother is not angry. My mother is not, and so I mean. I don't know what you're seeing and stuff. You're helping to build up more horrible stereotypes.
So where did your
community.
Because my mom never told me anything about racism or slavery or anything. She never brought that up around me or anything. So I never had that in my mind that I'm being held back because of slavery or whatever, because slaves don't exist anymore. So
you've had identity issues trying to figure out where you belong.
Exactly. That's true. That's true. And that comes from a lack of guidance. Because say if slavery was something that did exist today, right? And but you had a mother and father who guided you to let you know, don't be a victim to this slave stuff. It's all in the mind. Don't let the anger get to you. You could still have peace despite your environment. If they guided us in the right way, how could we ever now think that we can never make it in life or blame somebody else for it?
I don't think it's blaming or anything. And yes, I think that's what many people back in slave times had to tell their children, to try to be stronger and stuff. But then, thank God, we had people like Harriet Tubman, who was there, people like Frederick Douglass, who was there, or Sojourner Truth, who was there to help free us, or free our ancestors as slaves. And then when you say you don't have much guidance stuff, that I'm sorry that like people in your life didn't tell you to love your white side and love
I know they did tell me to love my white side. They did tell me to love white people. They did tell me they didn't make me a victim. I wasn't made a victim, and I'm not saying your family did that to you, But I'm just saying that's what happens in the black community. There's a lot of brainwashing that the white man is your enemy. The white man's trying to hold you back, that all this stuff. Meanwhile, and that's just preaching hate. That's preaching hate. Why would you tell your children, and some of them may really not even mean to do it, but why do you tell your children how you're training them to hate other people? Why you telling your children negative things so they grow up in fear?
Is that really what you feel like black people, the black community is doing? No, we are taught, and the same thing I'll teach my children, we are taught to always to always have our eye, to keep our eyes appealed, to always and we are taught, if an officer tells us to do something, to comply, because there's too many of us that have been slain down. So we are taught to comply and follow the police and whatever they do and say. And did your family really just tell you to just love your white side and not your black side?
No. But no, they told me to love them both. But if blacks are taught, like you said, to comply and not resist, why do they do it?
Why don't we, or why do we?
Why do you? If you're taught, like you said, to comply, why is it not happening?
No, it is. Well, I mean, look at it. Even with people like Sandra Bland, who was complying, she still died. Even with what was that Sandra lady who got killed by that officer last year?
Yeah, but they weren't complying though. You're not telling you're not telling the truth. They weren't just just sitting there innocent, not doing nothing. That's just that wasn't the case. You got to paint the full picture. And I'm not saying that those officers didn't have an agenda either, or a chip on their shoulder.
False reality.
No, but you're just not telling the full story. You're saying that she just sat there innocent, and we saw clips and the footage of both of those ladies, and they were not just sitting there like this and getting picked on.
They didn't deserve to be murdered. They didn't deserve to be murdered, and they were complying. That lady literally died for saying, what did she say? God bless your soul, or Jesus help you,
come on,
or something.
Man. You're not being all the way honest, JC.
Joel, you live in a false reality, and you're one of the ones that hurts the black community, because you will be on this show with that beautiful black skin of yours, helping to feel these races to be like, oh, this black man is saying this, so we can say all of this and stuff. You hurt the black community. You and your boss, Jesse Lee, hurt the black community.
Well, fair. If that's how you feel, JC, I don't see it that way. And if I'm wrong, then I'll have to learn. I'll have to learn the hard way. But I appreciate it. Other people now want to get in there. You done sparked everybody else to get in, so I got to keep the calls going.
Sure I have. All right. Happy 303, sir.
Thank you, JC. Appreciate it. Whatever. At least I got beautiful black skin. You know what I'm saying? Let me go to Harold out of Washington, D.C. Harold, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
What's up, Joel? How are you?
All is well, Harold. How's it going?
I'm all right. So first off, JC's a crash out.
Yeah, what's he at? Help JC out. Help him out. Help him out real quick.
Ain't no helping a guy like that, man. You bring him the truth, and he starts spiraling into darkness. So it's like, just got to let him see. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
But no, I wanted to say to decisively bring an end to that discussion, people with your mentality do better in life than people with JC's mentality, because you can be unstoppable in life if you have the right spirit. But if you're the type of person who is fragile in every little semblance of conflict you see as oppression, you're not going to be able to make it in life. You know, it's like you gave JC examples of black people who were able to succeed, like Oprah, Tyler Perry, and say what you want about these people, but they are black. They did come from a, foundational black American history where, their ancestors were most likely slaves, and they made it to where they made it to. And even in my case, I know people who come from a similar background who are making millions off the stock market or are going to school getting, STEM degrees, and they're making money and they're upwardly mobile. So this whole notion and idea that JC is trying to adopt as though it's the black narrative is a narrative of evil that destroys the black community. Like, there's no excuse for you to be hostile towards a cop in the way that Sandra Bland was.
Right.
There's no excuse for the fragile ego of people to always want to get into conflicts and fights. And that comes from that single mother spirit that Jesse Lee talks about. And so this entirety, this entire monstrosity that has come to connote black community needs to be put to rest, needs to be put to bed, and doesn't need to be tolerated anymore. And I say this as a black person.
No, 100%. And you know what it is, really? You know what it is, Harold, is that people really don't want to unidentify themselves with their emotions and that narrative because it serves the ego. It's a thrill. It's fun for them, so they want to hold on to it. When there's people who feel the same thing, right? Or people maybe who are overcoming, they may feel their emotions or feelings that come up, but they don't identify with it and they recognize it as what it is. But then there's people who want to identify with it, who may even recognize that their emotions are out of control and destructive, but they still want to identify. Why? Because it serves them. And those are the ones that are going to call in, and you got to be careful with because they're not really looking for the truth. So
that's true. Like that's completely true. But the detriment that these people bring to our society is ridiculous. Like, you can't have a high trust society with people who can't operate in good faith. And that entire conversation I saw between you and JC was JC operating in bad faith. It's almost as though he's been animated by the brainwashing. He doesn't even have original ideas of his own. He's only regurgitated he's heard from the media.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was blown away when he said that slavery was a thing, but for whatever reason in his mind, that's what he believes. And for whatever reason, however he got there, there's some type of reason he got to that conclusion where he so strongly believes in it. But it's just crazy stuff. But he has a right to believe in it. And I usually take his call because he also, to me, seems as if he hears me out. And sometimes he gets a little too crazy and then it's too much. But I think that his ear is open somewhat. So maybe he'll hear it and then he'll have a change of mind. But I appreciate you, Harold. I got to keep the calls moving. Any last comments?
Yeah, man. Well, yeah. So, JC, have forgiveness in your heart.
Yeah.
You can't be gay. You can't be a Christian. You have to choose Christ over what happened in the world and all that. So forgive the black thing. Forgive the gay thing. Let that stuff go. Come into Christ and reap the benefits of the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah, 100%, Harold. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right.
Let me go to Maize at Dayton, Ohio. Maize, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hello, Jay Will. I think people get confused when people try to tell them about history. That don't mean that they're living in the past. They just don't want to relive what for some people came through in the past. But if you're looking at it, you got to say something about it. But you supposed to expunge it and act like it didn't happen?
No. Oh, so are you saying that, JC?
Slavery. Or the things, the Jim Crow laws, and then all of these different things that, still happening, but you're supposed to just overlook it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You are supposed to overlook it. You don't have to be in denial about it. You can see that there's injustices that happen because there's anger in people's hearts, but you don't have to. But you are supposed to overlook it, meaning if it addresses you and you need to deal with it, then you deal with it in the proper way, right? You go about it in the proper way, and then that's it.
What is the proper way? I mean, like, if you look at it, Lee Atwater, his papers, in 91, he was still doing stuff like what we're looking at now. So you have some of those people that's you're always talking about the black community, but you have some that came out of the Caucasian community still in the same thought as Bull Connors and George Wallace. Look what they're doing, taking books out of the school system. What does that got to do with anything?
Evil is evil. Anger is anger, and that's the point.
What does that got to do with, they took the Bible was in the school system, they took them out, and it didn't do any good, because doing on Sunday, they were still harming people. And then if you look at what happened in Ohio, in Cincinnati, last month, and those people defended themselves. Them people had no business over there, no people in the neighborhood messing with them. But then you want to hear this crutch is that what the black family was.
But nobody's just. But that's the thing.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not justifying the bad behavior in other communities. I'm talking about the black community right now, and I'm bringing context.
The black community too.
Well,
and then Tyler Perry, he got his riches from black people doing plays.
Right.
And Oprah got her riches from starting on some Caucasian TV show.
Right, but they didn't play the victim card.
Enough.
But did they play the victim card?
Excuse me?
Did they play the victim card?
They were use the card like you do when you find people like got to agree with everything that they got to say. Do you have, just because they're Caucasian, do you have to agree with what they're saying?
Say it again.
And then they develop their own like BET. What's the problem with a BET? They have their own black TV station.
Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Ain't nobody said there's anything wrong with it. The point is that black people who don't have money, black people who don't have money, black people who don't have money like to use the slavery thing. They like to use the slavery thing. And they say that slavery is the reason why blacks can't get ahead because we are stuck in slavery.
Those that can't get ahead is the one that do the most complaining and crying.
The ones who can't get ahead
is the one that do most of the crying.
Exactly.
Working for somebody else. If you're working for yourself, you ain't got to worry about.
So were you just as shocked as
how to do what you need to do?
Well, then were you just as shocked as me when you heard? Were you just as shocked as me when you heard JC say that the reason why he can't get ahead is because of slavery?
No, he didn't say that. He was saying because of slavery is because of some of the things that he does that blocks him from getting resources to have the things that other people got.
Oh, and you believe that to be true?
Robert E. Lee's granddaughter just passed.
That's true.
Let me tell you something. Robert E. Lee's granddaughter just passed last month. Now, she was a black woman, but his other children had all of these royalties and wealth. She didn't have nothing, but she was still his daughter. And it's on paper. But why don't she have something so she can set up and tell her family that Robert E. Lee was my father and this is where he left me, he left his other ancestors something?
Because she needs to go out and get on her own, get married, find a husband.
She was married, had children too.
Right, then she did fine.
Y'all keep talking about the black community. This is just like I say, Lee Atwater's papers. Read them.
But nobody,
will understand what you see today, and you don't have to worry about nothing about black people.
Okay, Maize, answer me this though. Why is it that black people feel as if they weren't given the same opportunity as the rest of the world? Help me understand that. Maybe I'm not understanding. Why do they feel like they don't have the same opportunity? Because if they had the same opportunity, they would have like the welfare baby got. Okay, well, how come?
How did the welfare baby have our tax dollars and black people?
But
why is he the richest man in the world?
Okay, well, let me answer that. Let me answer that. If that's the case, then how come Oprah, Tyler Perry, and all these black people are successful? How come the white man didn't hold them back? Answer that one.
Because they were working for him. Everybody except Tyler Perry. He got his own studio and everything.
And then then right on. Then that's good, right? They're working for. What's wrong with working for the white man that help you bring you success?
If you're working for somebody, you always got to do what they want you to do, not what you want to do. That's why Don Lemon was fired. That's why all these people that got fired off on the TV station that would do, if they had their own, they couldn't get fired from nowhere. Could they?
So you're saying that. Let me just understand.
And then
wait, let me understand first. Okay. You're saying that Tyler Perry and Oprah are they got rich and successful because the white man gave them the money. They allowed them to do it.
Not Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry did his through plays.
Right, exactly.
Then Tyler Perry,
pause. Right, pause right there real quick. Pause right there real quick. Tyler Perry did it without any white man, right? If Tyler Perry did it without any white man, why can't the rest of the blacks copy the same formula Tyler Perry did?
Because the reason why what happened to some of those that fell for the money, the okie doke money, those that do drugs and stuff, that ain't coming from no black man.
And whose fault? Is it the white man? Is the white man's fault?
It ain't come from no black man.
Right. Is the white man's fault for doing the drugs?
What?
Is the white man's fault for the black man doing the drugs?
If they were poor enough and needed money, that's what they did to get it.
Right, exactly. So that's
exactly. So
Tyler Perry didn't do it. Tyler Perry stayed on track, right? So why can't the rest of the blacks do that? Why can't the rest of the blacks do that?
That's why nobody can stop him from what he's doing. And that's why he went and bought what he did back, and they don't want to still stop him.
So then why can't the rest of the blacks do that too, man?
You're not doing it. Why can't you?
I'm doing it. I'm on my way.
Yeah, you're on your way. You should have been there when you came out your mama's womb. Not on your way.
Right, but I was taught weird things.
Way there. You was taught.
So here's the thing. But why you won't answer the question, Maize? I asked you.
Because what I'm saying, Joel, there were black towns and they got burnt down.
How come
people don't want to do stuff anymore because they would get burnt down.
How come
all around this country?
How come Tyler Perry's house didn't get burned down?
They've tried. It's been
but it didn't happen. It didn't happen. So he
if you don't have somebody watching, you just come with it.
But he somehow has a secret, Maize. Tyler Perry somehow has a secret. Tyler Perry has a secret of how he avoided his house getting burned down.
Oh.
He avoided the white man taking his stuff. He avoided working for the white man, and he got successful on his own. So he got the secret. So maybe we need to all be learning from Tyler Perry.
What happened to Kanye?
Huh? Say it again.
Kanye was broke within a day because what? They got upset with what he said.
Kanye is not broke. Kanye is not broke.
Well, he's not now. Because he went and found somebody to help him stay where he was.
No, he didn't. No, because
he got his royalties through who? He didn't get them through no black people.
No, Kanye is very successful.
This is what I said. Don't be trying to blame the black community for the white man's problem because it's history. It's his problem.
It ain't. No.
It's up for him. You're going to be in the way.
Maize, that is not.
And you tell me no fathers in the home. Why aren't they in the home?
Man, if you had your own podcast, Maize, I know you wouldn't be saying this stuff because people would see your face.
I would.
People would see your face. They would see your identity, and you would be like, you would be embarrassed to say this stuff.
People left Alabama and will not go back to this day. They rather be buried in another state than go back to home because of they having their own land and everything that was taken away from them. Still got the deed to them, but they don't own them. They're still doing the same thing. So you need to check history before you try to talk about history and see what somebody's trying to say. Do you get it?
Fair enough, Maize, but you lying. But I gotta go.
I have proof of everything I talk about.
No, you didn't.
The land to the deed.
No, because you still haven't told me why nobody following in the pathway of the footsteps of Tyler Perry if he avoided all that stuff.
He didn't avoid it all because he still have problems too. He wanted to buy a TV station. Why they ain't let him do it?
Well, that's why he don't need a TV station.
What?
He don't need a TV station. He doing fine. He can make his own TV station.
He making movies and stuff. And like when they made whatever that movie was, they didn't like it because they didn't know nothing about it until it came out, and then people went to see it. They were upset about that. Why they get upset about it? And then they upset about BET. Why do they get upset about things that we do? Because they don't have no part in it.
Because y'all be lying. But I gotta go, man.
I'll be lying.
I'm out of time.
I'm just waving the truth away. So when you hear one coming, it's like I told James, they expunge they dirty deeds when they put ours out all in the street, and that's why people like you feel the way you do. It's always about the black man.
Well, fair enough, man. I gotta go though. I'm out of time.
I believe Lee was never in the home with his daughter, and Clinton wasn't in the home with his son. Explain that one to me.
Okay, I will, but I
hope his son will get what.
I'll explain it on Monday. I'll explain it on Monday. I gotta go.
Hope Chelsea gonna get what Chelsea would get if Clinton leaves. Have a good one.
Listen, I asked. Tyler Perry got past it. His house didn't get burned down. The white man didn't get his stuff. He was able to be successful. And he done it with doing his plays. He done it independently. If it's possible, then that automatically eliminates any argument that black people cannot do it. That eliminates the argument because a black man did it. So if one black man did it, then so can the rest. So it completely eliminates the argument. The argument's gone. It doesn't even stand a chance against anything because it's proven that that's not true. But Maize didn't want to answer that. She didn't want to answer that one. Why not? Why not? And JC won't answer it either. Why? Because victimhood serves the ego. It does. Makes you feel good. Gives you purpose. But it don't set you free. American Anchor Baby coming in right now, y'all. Make sure you guys tune into his show. Watch the American Anchor Baby on YouTube coming up here in 5 minutes. Don't miss his show. I'm not here tomorrow, but I'm back here on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you in the chats amongst the shows. Make sure you catch the Fallen State tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Or daylight saving time. I don't even know what to call it no more. But make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. All right. Until next time, I'll see you on Monday. Bye.